If you guys are anything like me, then I'm pretty sure at least once or twice in your life, you guys have thought about the concept of doing things over again, getting the chance to go back to when you were a kid and having all of the memories and experiences that you've had in your life and being able to use that to your advantage. Well, what would happen if we gave that exact same concept to Naruto and we actually let him live through what it would be like to have some sort of freaky event day where he goes back with all of his memories and literally has to live his entire life once again, knowing everything that's already going to happen? How would this affect the Naruto timeline, and will you guys even like this story? Well, those are two what ifs that we're going to both have to wait and see what will happen. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys go on to enjoy today's video, then definitely make sure to slap up that like button so it lets me know, and also share the video with a friend and leave a comment, seeing as I'm gonna be responding to you guys as much as I can. That said, enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
When making this story, a lot of things had to be taken into consideration, with one of them being, how is Naruto going to even go back and be reborn? And I was thinking, should I just say it's plot, or should I actually give them a reasonable reason? And then I started thinking about it. Naruto filler is a very powerful concept. If we just made one single episode canon, we could change everything in the story and make this what if actually work. And the way that we're going to be going about this is essentially Naruto, the episode where there is a filler genie, right? And this genie would be in a bottle that the entirety of the rookies would actually be fighting over, right? Naruto this time around is going to end up with the bottle at the end, rub the lamp, and once the genie would finally emerge, Naruto would look at it with a smirk on his face, thinking about what to wish for, right? We would close in on a scene between Sakura trying to lunge in and wish for Sasuke to love her back, but it just doesn't happen. And instead, Naruto was able to get his wish and ask the genie to essentially let him relive his life when all is said and done. And the genie just goes very well, right? And it just disappears. And Sakura would just get there and, hit Naruto over the head, being like, Naruto, what did you wish for, right? Naruto would have like this devious smirk on his face, and he would just tell Sakura that it's nothing important, right? And Sakura would just kind of have to live with the idea that she didn't get to wish for her precious Sasuke-kun, but little does she know, they end up together in the end. That said though, Naruto would live the rest of his life out just like normal, and eventually he would get to an age where he pretty much just dies to the common ninja sickness that everybody ends up getting eventually. He ends up having to watch his son and his adopted son Kawaki go to battle, and the events of Boruto still happen, with Naruto having a relatively peaceful death in the end. And once all would be said and done, and Naruto would breathe his final breath, Naruto would have a smile on his face on his deathbed. And finally, he would wake up. He would begin seeing everything blurry. But it's finally when everything kicks in. Naruto will see a man with a white mask over him. And Naruto would be wondering what exactly this is, because keep in mind, Naruto has just been reborn with all of his memories, powers, and sentience that he has in the original. And Naruto would not be able to do anything because keep in mind, the dude is literally a newborn baby. So on the day of the incident, Naruto will be 100% powerless to do anything, to help save his father, to help save his mother, to talk to Kurama and get him out of doing what he was about to do. Naruto would physically have to actually see what Kurama did to his parents in front of him the day that he was born. And Naruto would have to bear witness to the death of his father and, have to watch as Hiruzen would pick him up and say that he will be taking care of Naruto, right? What would happen here is Naruto would have no control over anything, and this would kind of just give Naruto a bit of a more keen understanding on what really happened that night, right? Now, Naruto having this understanding is actually going to be changing things a lot, because as we all know, Naruto in this version of the storyline is essentially going to be fourth wall breaking, considering that he knows what happens in the story. It's like Naruto knows everything. It's like Naruto knows the future, the past, the present, because he just does. And so Naruto was able to essentially grow up, and for the first year of his life, Naruto would actually just have to live life as a baby, knowing that he knows about Hiruzen's death, knowing that he knows what the villagers will say about him in a couple years' time, knowing that he's going to have to relive those first horrible years of his life where everybody hated him. But Naruto thinks, not this time. It's not happening again, right? And I definitely see Naruto having a bit of PTSD when it comes to this certain moment, and when it comes to what exactly he's going to try to do to avoid these circumstances from actually taking place once again. And I think that Naruto this time around, the irrational fear inside of his head would actually cause him to, once he turns around the age of 4 years old, finally do something about the circumstances that he's in. After thinking and contemplating for so many years about what he should do, and actually taking the time and energy to actually study up on the things that he didn't study up on when he was alive on his previous life, and actually train way earlier than anybody would have expected. Naruto would do this because of the simple fact that he wants his body to be capable of at least keeping up with a small percentage of the power that he truly has inside of him. Not to mention that because Naruto has his previous memories and does know how to access Kurama via the mindscape, Naruto would actually be able to talk to Kurama and let him know that he is Naruto and that he actually knows what his true name is. He knows about the Sage of the Six Paths. He knows about the plans of the Akatsuki, and he knows overall a lot of things that Kurama would actually be completely shocked about. This is something that Kurama would have never actually expected from a kid, much less some like 2-year-old brat that somehow managed to get inside of his domain. Naruto would tell him that he knows how he feels, he knows the rage, and that someday Naruto will help Kurama out with this feeling, right? And Kurama would not know exactly how to take this, considering what would you guys do if some baby started telling you guys pretty much everything and anything you guys want to hear? Like, that'd be crazy. But eventually Naruto would get to the age of 4 years old, and it would be around this point in time where Naruto would remember that around this time, Hiruzen would actually be letting Naruto live on his own. And that was actually one of the worst things that could have possibly happened for Naruto, considering the dude is a little kid. Like, he doesn't want to live by himself, you know what I mean? So that leaves Naruto with essentially one choice. He can either live by himself once again and go through the same hardships that he would have had to endure in the original, or Naruto can do something about it and actually take out one of the biggest pests in the Naruto series known to date, Danzo. Now, how is this actually going to work? Well, I see this happening one of two ways. Number one, Naruto could either go to Hiruzen and talk to him about the things that Danzo has had going on, and eventually lead Danzo to pretty much be taken out by Hiruzen. However, that would not be fast enough for Naruto not to have to deal with the consequences of being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. So what does Naruto do? Well, I'm going to put it simple for you guys. He takes care of the problem, if that makes sense. Because Naruto this time around is not going to be willing to deal with this. So Naruto decides to pretty much exit the premises of Hiruzen's office and stuff like that. And he decides that he's just going to go handle Danzo himself. He believes that at the current age that he's at, his body must be able to muster just enough power to defeat Danzo and anybody else who would be willing to get in his way. So what does Naruto do? Naruto decides to march down onto Danzo's Anbu, and when he arrives, he would begin to play silly, act as if he has no idea where he's at, and Danzo would finally get a hold of Naruto. And once Danzo finally begins to speak to him, he would tell him things that Naruto, or a kid Naruto, would have loved to hear, telling him, giving him reassurance, telling him that he could always have a home here with the Anbu, and that he'll train him, he'll make him a weapon, he'll be feared, he'll be powerful. Naruto, listening to all of this, would take it all in, but in the back of his mind, he would know what Danzo's truly trying to do. He wants to turn Naruto into his own personal weapon, and he knows how that would result all too well. So what does Naruto do? Naruto finally makes it to a room where he can be one-on-one with Danzo, and as soon as he's there, he would take a seat, look to Danzo and say, "Danzo, I'm not some kid that you can fool with some silly talk. I'm not somebody that you can easily get to be a pawn under your foot. I'm not going to be a weapon for destruction underneath you, Danzo. And that Sharingan of yours isn't going to be doing you any good when it comes to manipulation. Danzo, once he hears this, would say, "What? Naruto, what is the meaning of this?" And Naruto would say, "I'm not some kid that you can easily fool. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. And someday in the future, I'll become the 7th Hokage." With Danzo being like, "What? 7th?" As Naruto would say, "I know all about the things that you've had going on in the Leaf Village far too well. The death of Itachi, the fact that many of the Uchiha will end up having to get massacred very, very soon because of you. I know a lot of things that end up happening in the future, and you're the main reason that it all does end up happening. You ended up ruining my life sometime in the future, and you had planned to leak me as the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki pretty soon, didn't you? Well, this time around, I can actually do something about it." Naruto would snap instantly into his KCM1 mode, as Danzo would be absolutely shocked, just wondering how in the world some pipsqueak could muster this much power. How does he have access to the power of the Nine-Tails so early? This is something that not even the wife of Hashirama would have had, not even Kushina. How is this brat capable of mustering such power? Danzo would be wondering to himself. And Naruto would not be easing up on Danzo whatsoever. Naruto's not giving anything up, and Naruto would decide that he would instantly have to end this battle, creating a small Rasengan and shoving it into the stomach of Danzo to take him out, and then slashing at him with a kunai. Naruto, knowing of the abilities of Izanagi, would be ready for Danzo's comeback when it would eventually happen, and Naruto would proceed to kill Danzo over and over and over until Danzo would finally run out of Sharingans, and eventually this would finally lead to a bunch of Anbus making it to the scene. Naruto, not wanting to be too cruel, would decide to actually knock the Anbus out instead of actually killing them. And once enough commotion would be made, eventually more and more ninjas would arrive, with Hiruzen finally arriving on scene and looking at Naruto, asking him what the meaning of this is, right? Naruto would look to Hiruzen and tell him that he was simply handling a problem, and that everybody here who has a problem with it could talk about it with him, right? And it would be at this moment that Hiruzen would kind of be like, "Naruto, calm yourself." And Naruto would say, "Make me." As from here, he would kind of snap into an even more powerful stage, accessing Sage mode on top of it, going into KCM2 with, Hiruzen being absolutely stunned, because Naruto not only has access to KCM2, but it's the perfected 6-path Sage mode version, because keep in mind, he was reborn with all his powers and abilities. And one thing that Naruto knows not to touch or gain access to whatsoever would be the abilities of Kurama's Baryon mode, something that Naruto knows not to tap into unless absolutely necessary. But you know what? Naruto will be fine with that, because he won't need the abilities of Baryon mode, because this time Naruto will be ready for Toneri, he'll be ready for Kaguya, he'll be ready for Ishiki, he'll be ready for his son Boruto being born, his daughter Himawari, and this time, most important of all, ladies and gentlemen, Naruto will actually be there for his Hokage ceremony. He's not going to get knocked out by Himawari, sorry. I completely lost my train of thought, but he's not going to be knocked out by his daughter this time around, and there is no way in the world that Naruto's going to be missing his ceremony again. Not happening in any single world in the world. But regardless though, what ends up happening here is essentially that Hiruzen, once seeing the power of Naruto, would kind of tremble, because this is on the likes of something that he has never experienced before, and many of the ninjas that would be around would not even fathom the levels of chakra that Naruto is able to muster at just the age of 4. Hiruzen would be thinking that Minato gave birth to a literal god, and Hiruzen would simply stand down immediately. Every single man that was there would put their weapons down and not even look to Naruto with anger. Naruto would then look to Hiruzen and tell him that they need to talk. And from here, Naruto would go over to the office of Hiruzen, where he would begin to explain everything, telling Hiruzen that in a couple years time, Hiruzen will die to the hands of Orochimaru. That because of his foolish arrogance and not being able to take out Orochimaru, the love that he has for his students, his own student would be the one who ends up putting an end to his life. Hiruzen would take this in with a lot of harshness, and he would say, I knew someday something like that would happen. Followed by Naruto stating, and also pretty soon Jiraiya is actually going to be returning to the village with info on an organization that is going to be called the Akatsuki. They're going to be after the tailed beasts, and in the future I was one of the tailed beasts that they actually went after. The timeline has actually not changed too much from when I was born to now, and I'm hoping that nothing does change too drastically. In the future, things pan out well, and eventually we get everything right. World peace would be achieved once I defeat Madara in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. And Hiruzen would say, but Madara's... Naruto would say, I know, but he comes back. And trust me, his power is truly terrifying. But this time around, we'll be ready. And this time around, we'll make sure to do things right. For now, I'm going to act the same knuckle-headed ninja that I always was in the original, and this time around I get to not have to deal with the hatred of the villagers. Danzo is set to a couple of years from now, a couple of weeks from now, end up telling the villagers about the fact that I'm the Ninetales. This leads to my childhood being almost impossible to get through, but I managed. And this time around, I saved myself from that, as well as the entirety of the Uchiha clan from getting massacred due to one of Danzo's orders. He stops the plans of Shisui and Itachi to use Kuro and Matsukami on their father. Once the events of the Ninetales attack happen, they ended up having resentment towards the village for sending them to the outskirts of the village. So Hiruzen, I'm telling you now, if there's one thing that you need to change as a Kage as of this moment, is letting the Uchiha back and giving them a formal apology for what had happened during the night of the Ninetales incident. That's the best step forward for now. I'll tell you the rest of the other details later, but that's pretty much the gist of what happens in the next 20 years. And Hiruzen would say, that's a lot to take in, Naruto, but very well. Seeing as you are from the future and your power truly is magnificent, there's no real reason for me to doubt you. So I will do as you say. And from here, Hiruzen would go over to the Uchiha clan and pretty much tell them that he's sorry for what had ended up happening, and pretty much taking them back to where they used to live, making the Uchiha police force a much more prominent force in the Leaf Village, and giving Fugaku a higher role of power amongst the village, giving him an elder role so that he could actually get his sense in when it comes to anything that would include the Uchiha clan in some time in the future. This means that Itachi and Shisui wouldn't have to deal with the hardships they would in the future, and when it comes to Naruto's childhood, Naruto gets to be a kid again. He gets to just act like a little goofball once more, and this time around people don't hate him. Naruto gets to experience a childhood, and for now, this is all Naruto will be focused on, because from what we all know and from what we saw from Naruto's backstory, it wasn't a pleasant one. And if he has the chance to be a kid again, have friends, and actually be liked by others, well, Naruto's gonna take it. He's already lived through an era of world peace, but his childhood was pretty much lost to the hands of Danzo when he decided to come out and point the hatred of the village onto him. But now, Naruto gets to go to the shopkeepers and say his name Naruto without fear of it. Now Naruto gets to be raised by Hiruzen, and people would give him respect because of the fact that he is somewhat the adopted grandchild of Hiruzen, Lord Third. It would be an incredible childhood for Naruto to live through, and Naruto would make sure that during his early years he would get as much contact with Hinata as possible, seeing as he misses her. She died about 10 years before he did, and Naruto finally gets the chance to hang out with her as a kid and make her more powerful than she would have been in the original via having her train and giving her more motivation to do things on her own. Naruto and Hinata would have a very friendly platonic relationship, and Naruto would get to experience being friends with Sasuke without having it be as cold as it would have been in the original. Naruto would know what it feels like to have a couple of girls actually fawn over him, and know what it feels like to have a bunch of people in the class actually laugh at his jokes and not look at him as some demon child. Naruto would feel like this is the best part. And truly, with the life that Naruto's already lived, it genuinely might be. This is what Naruto has always dreamed of. But Naruto knows that the mission's not done and that he'll only get to relive this once. Naruto would wonder to himself why exactly this happens when finally it hits. The genie lamp. The wish. It worked. Him going back and reliving his life actually did something. That genie's magic actually gave him the opportunity to live his life with all the same memories and powers that he would have gained in the original timeline. Naruto would look up to the sky and thank his lucky stars for the fact that he got the chance to do this. And now, Naruto would enter the classroom with a smile on his face as everybody would greet him, and Iruka would say, Naruto, take a seat. As the class would start, Naruto would crack jokes in the back of the classroom, with his entire classmates laughing at his jokes and calling him funny, telling him that, that he should sit next to them, and that he should, pretty much hang out with them during recess, asking him for help with training and stuff like that. And Naruto would be loving it, honestly. Naruto would think that this is the best. And eventually we would get to a point in time where the graduation day would be right around the corner, and Naruto knows exactly who is going to be on his team. It's going to be that of Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke, his best friend. And current best friend right now as well, seeing as Naruto knows exactly what buttons to press on Sasuke and exactly what Sasuke would like when it comes to a best friend. Naruto would not be the strongest one in the classroom, and he would still give that role to Sasuke via not exactly showing his full power, so that Sasuke could feel more powerful, so that Sasuke could be more confident, so that Sasuke could still be the way that he would end up in the original. Still being that cocky little prick that Naruto knows and loves. But regardless of that, ladies and gentlemen, this is when Kakashi would finally enter the classroom, and he would look to the Team 7 as he would tell them all to meet him on the top of the roof for introductions. Everybody would make their way up there, and Sasuke's introduction would be a lot different than in the original. He would say that his dream is to become the Hokage. Naruto would state that his dream is also to become the Hokage. They would both smirk as they would chuckle and look at each other with this look in their eyes. And Kakashi would know exactly what that look is saying. That's the look of, not if I become Kage first, right? Kakashi would smile, thinking that these kids are definitely going to be making a great team, and Kakashi hasn't been informed of the fact that Naruto comes from, well, the future. So he has no idea of Naruto's power quite yet, and nor does anybody else except for Hiruzen and some of the Anbu members who were there, which would have had a memory erasure jutsu placed on them so they would not be able to speak on what had happened that day. We pick our story off with Naruto waking up for the bell test. Now, everything would be normal. This is just another normal day, and Naruto would just be having a big smile on his face because this is actually one of Naruto's best memories. I mean, for crying out loud, in his Hokage desk, he literally has a picture of the day they actually became Team 7. Sasuke turning away, Kakashi holding the heads of both Sakura and Sasuke, and Naruto just making that little goofy face that we all know and love. You guys know what picture I'm talking about. Naruto is excited because he gets to relive the adventures that he had with his team over again. And this time, not only that, but Naruto gets to save people. Naruto is looking forward greatly to saving Zabuza and Haku, because the last thing that Naruto wants to do this time is to allow the fate that they were met within the original. So Naruto's going to do everything in his power to kind of change that. Not only that, but there's also something else that's on Naruto's mind that he kind of wants to change before, he goes back and settles down with Hinata, because in his previous life, he just spent the whole thing with Hinata, and I'm not saying that he doesn't like it, but I'm also not saying that he never wanted to experiment. So this time around, Naruto not having anybody to hold him down, he's like, you know what? Maybe I could have a little bit of fun before me and Hinata finally settle down. I mean, she still loves me. She'll be around. And so it's going to be popping up later in the episode. But for right now, just know that Naruto has his eye on a certain somebody that he thinks is kind of cool in the future. But regardless, though, what would end up happening here is pretty much Naruto would end up going to the bell test area and knowing that Kakashi's going to arrive late. So what does Naruto do? He arrives late himself. He ends up apologizing to the team, acting like a goofball, saying that he overslept. Sasuke would be like, you goofball. And Sakura would be like, oh, it's okay, Naruto. Our sensei's not even here. From here, Kakashi would end up arriving 30 minutes later, and here is where Kakashi would end up cueing the bell test beginning, right? He would begin the countdown, and Naruto would smirk, thinking to himself that he has to do it once again. He would rush into Kakashi and let Kakashi lecture him once more, just like he would have in the original, and Naruto would be like, yeah, sorry. From here, he would rush over to the bushes, and he would look at Sasuke as he would say, look Sasuke, I think that the point of this test is actually teamwork. Something about the fact that only 2 people get to pass is rubbing me the wrong way. There's never in the history of anything been a 2-person squad. It's always 3 or 4 people with a genie. So I think that we actually have to work as a team. And Sasuke hearing this would be like, you know, that actually makes sense, Naruto. You're pretty smart. From here, Sakura hears all of that and she's like, all right, so what do we do? And Naruto just goes, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go in, I'm going to act silly, and I'm just going to make it look like I'm trying my hardest to capture the bells. But really, it's just going to be a shadow clone. Sasuke's like, you can make those now? And Naruto's like, yeah, I can make those. And, oh, actually, no, Naruto was actually able to make them this time around. So Sasuke would be like, all right. And then from here, Sakura would say, what's my role in this? Naruto's going to look at her and say, Sakura, your role is actually going to be the one responsible for snatching the bells, or at least the first person to attempt it, because I want Sasuke to come in after I get taken out with a fireball jutsu for Kakashi to get caught off guard. And once that happens, Sakura, I want you to rush at him mid-air as he's dodging the fireball and lunge and try to slash off the bells with the kunai. That way you can grab them and we can get a hold of them and pass. But I'm almost certain that Kakashi will be able to predetermine that would happen. So that's where I come in and lunge at him with tons of shadow clones that are all just going to try to bombard him. And I think that that's the best way that we can get the bells. I'm not sure if it'll work, but I think it's our best shot. And from here, Sakura's like, you know, Naruto, that's a great plan. Mir Naruto smirks and is like, yeah, thanks. As from here, he would pretty much go on to say, let's do it. And immediately he would create a shadow clone, which would rush into Kakashi and act like a complete goofball. Exactly the plan that I just told you guys would pretty much play out. And, you know, obviously Sasuke comes in, he's like, fireball jutsu. And poof, Sasuke would land on the ground. Kakashi's midair. Sakura tries to catch it. Kakashi dodges, and now he's in a compromisable position. Naruto would come in with all of his shadow clones, and noticing that he wasn't going to be able to get the jump on Kakashi, he decides to let out just a little bit of speed that what Kakashi wouldn't be able to notice. He quickly swipes at the bells, and Kakashi would land on the ground thinking that he didn't get them because no way again he could do it. But he would notice that both bells are in Naruto's hands, as Naruto would say, Sasuke, Sakura, I got the bells, tossing one to each of them, as he would say, don't worry guys, I'll stay in the academy. You guys go on without me. And Kakashi would land with a big smile on his face as he thinks that this is his team, right? And from here he says, you all pass. And, you know, he begins to tell them the lesson. And Naruto, when Kakashi's about to finish it, would say, you're worse than scum. Kakashi looks at Naruto and would be shocked because it's like the last person that knew what the line was Obito, the one who created it. And Naruto resembles Obito so much that it's almost uncanny. But Kakashi wouldn't say anything. And from here, he would treat the team to actually some ramen, considering that they did so well. They would take a picture on this day, and Naruto would go home feeling pretty good about himself. He realizes that from here, he got scratched up a lot. So what does Naruto do? He changes his fate. He ends up letting Sasuke be the one to take the brunt of the team. And he's the one who would actually end up getting scratched and, you know, mangled up by some cats, right? Obviously, it's nothing too crazy, but it's definitely a little bit of a funny thing to think about, right? But regardless, though, what ended up happening following this is essentially 2 weeks would go by in a flash, and before you know it, they would enter the room, which Hiruzen would inform them about a mission between a bridge builder, and Naruto would have actually told Hiruzen the true ranking of the mission, which would have actually been something along the lines of A rank. But you know, Hiruzen, knowing that, would actually not tell Kakashi, and Naruto and he would be the only ones to know. He would tell him that it's not a big deal, and later he should just overcompensate them for what the mission's actually worth. And Hiruzen would, you know, he would nod, and following this, the team would all be introduced to Tazuna. He would come in, and just like in the original, would begin to disrespect them, and, you know, the team would then meet him at the bridge the next day. When they do, they would end up embarking on their mission, and this time around, Naruto makes sure to help out Sasuke when it comes to the two demon brothers. He doesn't want to look embarrassed like he was in the original, so this time around when the demon brothers lunge in and Sasuke kicks one away, Naruto would be ready to actually punch another one back, as he holds a kunai out and says, "You guys are not touching the bridge builder." He makes sure that he looks as cool as possible as he looks to Sakura and would just like have a smile on his face saying, this time she doesn't think I'm a loser. And no, he's not trying to get at Sakura, guys. This is something that would have already well been faded away from Naruto, considering that he knows that that's Sasuke's, girl at the end, and Naruto's not going to try anything. This time he's more mature than he would obviously be letting on, seeing as he's from, well, the future. But regardless, what would end up actually happening here is essentially Naruto would end up being able to ultimately disarm both demon brothers, and Kakashi would be able to unveil that he never truly died. It was just a shadow clone or a substitution jutsu, right? And the team would smile and pretty much go back to their normal team things where they end up trying to make their way towards the bridge and stuff like that. Eventually, they would make themselves go to where the foggy area was, and Zabuza would finally reveal himself. He would do the classic Kakashi, the copycat ninja Kakashi. If you hand over the bridge builder, nobody has to die. And Kakashi he's like, well, I'm sorry, but I can't really do that. Immediately the battle would start, and we would see the clash between Kakashi and Zabuza unveil, right? And this clash, seeing as nothing is really going to be prevented via Naruto this time around, seeing as, he remembers this battle and exactly how everything goes down, and he's not exactly worried about anything. So when Kakashi tells them all to run, he would immediately turn to Sasuke and say, Sasuke, here. Like he just looks at him and nods, and it's crazy because Sasuke and Naruto literally knew what the plan was without even speaking to each other. Like, that's just how smart these characters are. Like, even somebody like Naruto, who's supposed to be a quote-unquote knuckleheaded ninja, is capable of completing feats like that. Like, that's completely insane to me. Me personally, I couldn't even do the plan perfectly if he would have told me step by step exactly what to do. Like, I would have misheard something. I would have not like paid attention somewhere. Like, that's just how I am. But regardless, though, I can't assume that Naruto's a knucklehead just like me. But basically, what ends up happening after this is Kakashi would end up getting trapped by the water prison, and Naruto would use the Demon Wind Shuriken Jutsu to actually catch Zabuza off guard. Now, Naruto, when he would be about to hit the water, would be like, all right, I'll just use my water walking. But then he realizes that he can't. So right as he stops for an instant while he uses the water walking, he would just let himself fall. And Kakashi would notice that a little bit, being like, that's weird. But he doesn't focus on that, seeing as he has to face off against Zabuza, who currently he's going to need to trick into thinking that he could see into the future. It would work, and when Haku would end up arriving, Naruto would simply, not say nothing, right? And they eventually would make their way towards the house of Tazuna, where once they're there and Naruto sees Inari and he sees how he feels, he would not actually yell at Inari. Instead, he puts his plate back where it belongs in the dishwasher, and he proceeds to go outside to just start punching a tree and training and stuff, right? Trying to harden his body as much as he can, knowing that pretty soon Inari is going to thank him for being here and that everything will finally end well, right? And so pretty much what ends up happening this time around is Naruto would decide that, okay, I'm still going to pretend to sleep in just to save Inari, or I could leave a clone behind to save Inari. And Naruto would actually think that that's a smart idea. So he would tell Kakashi, hey Kakashi, you think it would be a smart idea to leave a clone behind in case something were to happen? And Kakashi would be like, you're right, Naruto, good idea. Or you want to leave a clone, you have more chakra than I do. And Naruto would be like, sure, I'll leave 2 behind just in case. He would leave 2 clones, and Naruto would make his way to the direction of the bridge, where everything would be going great up until when Haku and Zabuza would arrive. Now, there is one key detail that I still haven't covered considering the talk between Naruto and Haku, but that is for a very, very real reason that I'm going to be getting into once the fight begins. Right, the fight would start and Sasuke would begin to immediately fight off against Haku, but because Naruto knows that Sasuke would have been fine until the ice prison jutsu, Naruto would have decided that, this time around, he's not going to let things escalate as much as they did, and Haku is not going to kill himself. So what pretty much ends up happening is Naruto would actually end up telling Haku, mid-battle when they're inside the ice crystal mirror jutsus, that it's not worth it, and that pretty soon, like, this battle is gonna end, but it's gonna be a terrible ending, and like it's gonna just end badly for both parties. telling Haku that it doesn't even have to be like this, that Gato's just playing them for fools. He's not gonna pay them. He doesn't even pay his own men. What makes them think that Gato has the integrity to even be a man of his word? They know he's not even like that. And you know what? This would actually put some doubt into the mind of Zabuza, because the kid's actually low-key, high-key spitting. Like, if you really think about it, Naruto is right on the money. And he's on it because he literally saw that Gato would have ended up arriving and not paying them. So Naruto says, look, if I'm wrong about this, take my life and the bridge builder. But I can bet everything that that man was not willing to pay you. And from here, what would end up happening is that Naruto would tell Haku to play dead, like to just trust him. And Haku would say, fine, right? And, you know, Zabuza would get captured by Kakashi, and Naruto would tell Kakashi not to kill Zabuza, like, please don't kill him. So Zabuza would be captured with the dogs, and Gato and his men would finally end up arriving, right? This time around, you know, Sasuke still would have unlocked the Sharingan, but Naruto still wouldn't have gone crazy, is what I'm trying to get at. And pretty much what would end up happening this time around is Naruto would have actually been there to kind of watch what ends up happening once once Gato arrives. When Gato gets there, he would pretty much end up kicking Haku just like he would in the original, and disrespecting him, saying that they might as well just kill Zabuza because he's not going to pay him anyways, and that they're here to finish the job when a lowly pawn can't do it themselves. After hearing this, Zabuza would be let go by Kakashi and his guard dogs that weren't actually even biting him hard. They were biting, which still hurt, but not hard, to the point where Zabuza was angry at Kakashi, because at this point he realized Kakashi is not the enemy. He is. And from here, he would go on to pretty much lunge at Gato, but not before Haku would come in and actually slash at the throat of Haku. And from here, Haku and Zabuza, both healthy mind you, would be able to rush in and use their most powerful jutsus to actually take out all of Gato's men, including Gato himself, which would lead Naruto to pretty much have this cool goodbye between Haku and Zabuza, where they kind of realized that, you know, they really weren't the enemy, and that Naruto's actually a cool guy. Naruto, right as Zabuza and Haku were about to leave, would look to Zabuza as he would say, Zabuza, wait. Zabuza stops and he looks at him and says, what do you want, boy? As from here, Naruto tells him, why not join the Hidden Leaf Village? Like, why keep being a missing nin that's going out with higher jobs when you could just join a village and do jobs for money? Like, you can have loyalty and you won't ever have to run or anything. Like, you can be free, you can be fine. And, you know, Zabuza would say, that kind of life is not for me. I'm on a mission right now that I can't possibly fail. And Naruto would say, what if that mission would be completed by someone else? What if that's not your calling? Zabuza says, what do you mean? And Naruto just looks at him and says, like, there's so much better to life than that. Like, you could come to our village and be powerful ninjas. Like, you're along the ranks of that of Kakashi. Like, you would mean a lot to a village like ours. And, you know, Zabuza just stops to think, and then Naruto says, what about Haku? Like, can you consider to think about what he feels? All these years, it's just been your dream, but what about Haku? You never thought about that? And from here, Zabuza says, Haku is my tool. And Naruto gives him this crazy talk no jutsu that would lead Zabuza to actually have tears come out of his eyes and say, you know what, kid? Fine. We'll join the Hidden Leaf Village. As from here, they would make their way back to the Leaf Village with Zabuza and Haku, and Naruto would tell Hiruzen to just accept them, saying that they're trustworthy, which Hiruzen would do, and from here, they would both be integrated into the Hidden Leaf Village, with Zabuza and Haku actually being thrown into the Chunin exam, because they're not Chunin, since they can't just be integrated in instantly made Jonin just because of their power, seeing as they couldn't even do that to the Hokage Naruto, so they have to join the Chunin exams. And we're going to be seeing Haku and Zabuza in the Chunin exams. Isn't that like kind of dope? Like, if you really think about it, that's kind of cool. From here, Hiruzen would pretty much end up showing Haku and Zabuza to their quarters, considering that they are such high-level shinobis that it's in his best interest to keep them as happy as he possibly can. From here, though, the team would pretty much end up being compensated for this, and Naruto would get an extra little bonus for bringing 2 powerful ninjas to the village. And so, they would all end up going their separate ways. However, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke would be walking the same way, and Naruto would be leading them towards towards the direction of where the Sand siblings would be at, where he would end up seeing Gaara once again young like he used to be during the Chunin exams when he was terrifying and Gaara seemed so powerful that it was just crazy to fathom. But Naruto, now knowing how powerful Gaara truly gets in the future and just knowing him with his little weird haircut that he has, Naruto kind of just laughs thinking about how weird of a drastic change Gaara made in the future. And Naruto just can't help but feel like it was just kind of funny the way that everything just ended up panning out in the end. Naruto looks to Gaara, gives him this stare of like, I'm gonna beat you. And from here, Sasuke, Tamari thinks that Sasuke's cute. And, Sasuke would end up just kind of looking to Sakura. They would end up saving Konohamaru, and then the team would be like, all right, let's go. And from here, they end up taking their little quote unquote, how do I put it? They end up taking their little quote unquote, like, the entrance thing to the Chunin exams, because as you guys remember, there was like these little tests that some of the Chunins did to test if the Genins were even ready to take the Chunin exams. Now obviously Team 7 passes just like in the original, and what would end up happening following this is something very nothing crazy actually, because once they end up making it towards the Chunin exams tower, Naruto still ends up letting Lee end up whooping Sasuke's butt because it's something that Sasuke needed. Sasuke needed to get humbled, and Rock Lee is someone that Sasuke is definitely going to consider saving a lot of pain and trial that he ends up having to unfortunately go through, meaning he's probably going to end up having to step in when it comes to the Gaara versus Lee fight, or maybe ultimately Naruto could take his place potentially just to get Gaara out of the way and prevent the attack on the village, right? But for right now, Naruto actually has his eye on a certain person that I personally wouldn't have minded if he was actually shipped with, and that is Ino, right? Naruto's looking at Ino and he's just like, damn, like I remember what she used to look like. And Naruto was just like, her and Hinata, they basically end up being the best choices in the future. And Naruto was just like, I just want to know like what it would have been like if that would have been my choice. So Naruto walks over towards Ino and he begins talking to her, and she she's happy. She's like responding back like nice, because Naruto isn't annoying her, and like he's not as annoying as he would be in the original, and so Ino would actually give him the time of day. Naruto would begin speaking to her and spitting some game. My boy is cooking. He's risen her up. And Hinata's just watching from the corner, just kind of twiddling her fingers, being like, Naruto good, as Naruto would just be risen up Ino, and eventually they would all be called over to do the written part. Naruto would decide that he actually wants to take Ino out a little bit, and so he decides, all right, after the Chunin exams, I'm taking Ino out so fast. Not to mention that this time around, Naruto decides that he's kind of thinking about things, because on one hand, Naruto knows that after the written portion, he's going to be having to let Sasuke either go with Orochimaru to gain the power that he would have in the original, or stay in the village and not gain that power, right? And Naruto, as of this moment, isn't really thinking straight, because he's still thinking that the timeline is going to work exactly as it would have in the original. But the thing is, it's not going to work the same way as it does in the original, because this time around, there's so many different elements and factors to this story that things are just crazy. The entire Uchiha clan is alive, so Orochimaru has no reason to attack the village. Not to mention, he knows that all of the Uchihas there would definitely be able to put a stop to, his overall little plan. There would even be a bunch of little Uchiha like outcast members that would just be like in the background just to fill up the rest of the cast of the Chunin exams. And so there would just be like so much to the point where Orochimaru could really just kidnap any old Uchiha and it would still work when it comes to his plans. So that's something bad, because now Orochimaru has access to the Sharingan, which would make him more OP, but I'm not sure if he would gain access to the Mangekyo, because I don't think that there's anything Orochimaru could see that would give him access to it. I think the dude is just so corrupted and dark that there's nothing that could kind of be the spark to that of the unlocking of the Mangekyo. But Naruto's just kind of thinking, does he let Sasuke go, or does he end up taking Orochimaru out now? But he's about to find out there's gonna be no Orochimaru there, and it's gonna be pretty funny to see Naruto not even like realize that slowly he actually begun changing the timeline for the better, because Hiruzen, he doesn't die, and this time around he's actually going to decide that it's about time that he truly retires. And there's somebody in the back of his mind that he wants to become the next Hokage. That is Fugaku Uchiha, the leader of the Uchiha clan. Okay, so we start the story off in the perspective of Naruto jumping from tree branch to tree branch. Sasuke and Sakura would be following closely behind him, as Naruto would have actually ended up being the one who's at the front due to that of Sasuke's plan. Sasuke would have decided that instead of splitting up in each one of them to actually try to go after their own individual scrolls and try to see how many they can get, he decided, you know what, let's just head straight towards the tower, and whoever we end up encountering on our journey there will pick their pockets. Hopefully they have the scroll, and that'll be the way that we get through this entire Chunin exam test, right? And Naruto actually likes that idea, because looking back at it after becoming a Hokage, he realized that that's actually the smartest plan that they could have truly came up with. Now, Sasuke knows this to be the case due to courtesy of his older brother Itachi, who might have just slipped a little bit of, how to make the test a little easier for his younger brother, right? And I think that a lot of older brothers, if you guys are out there, can agree that we enjoy making lives easier on our younger brothers by giving them those tips and tricks that we wish we had when we were young. So, I think Itachi, even though they live in a different world, would still kind of, being the person that he is, give Sasuke a little bit of an edge over everybody else, right? Naruto would know to avoid Gaara at all costs at this moment, seeing as Gaara would most likely try to kill them, and Naruto doesn't feel like having to fight some bloodlusted Gaara, even though it would be easy, but he just doesn't feel like having to have that interaction with Gaara any earlier than he should, and he thinks that, I think it should be a little different. And so Naruto and his squad would actually end up making their way towards the Chunin Tower, and just like I was saying, I think that the team would, generally speaking, end up actually finding another team to pick off, and I think that it would actually be pretty easy for Team 7 to actually take the scroll off of another team. They end up doing so using the extra manpower that they get, not manpower, but overall power that they have as an individual group, because this time around Sakura is still going to be just as weak as usual. However, Sasuke is going to be a lot more developed in terms of his strength levels, because he had his father Itachi and I was about to say Suigetsu, but no, Shisui to actually be there as mentors for him and to guide Sasuke along his path as a ninja. And Naruto would pretty much already be as broken as you can get, just pretty much being able to have the chance to work on his power a lot longer than he's gonna have, in this previous life. Because keep in mind, Naruto, by the time that he was near his passing, I think would have already been regressing and not really been too strong. But when it comes to his wisdom, that would be the only saving grace that Naruto would have, is kind of what I think Naruto would kind of be like once he's old and on his deathbed and stuff like that. But regardless though, what pretty much ends up happening, and what I like to just think is going to be the 100% case, is essentially that pretty much, okay, I'm confusing myself, but pretty much they end up taking the scroll and they make their way towards the Chunin Tower, right? I think that that's just pretty basic. And when it comes to how much time it took them to do it, I generally speaking want to say that they're actually going to be beating the time that Minato would have had in his version. So they would have actually broken the record of Gaara and also Minato and Itachi's record when it comes to the Chunin exams time. And once they're at the tower, they would actually be there with minor scratches and stuff like that. So not undamaged like Gaara, but a little bit different, right? And so what pretty much I want to actually have happen is essentially during the Chunin exams, they have a 2-day waiting period where, because they got there soon, they were actually rewarded with 2 days of rest, unlike the other contestants that will be taking place in the Chunin exams. And when it comes to who gets passed, I'm going to be saying that Zabuza Haku do, as well as everybody else in the main canon timeline. And we're going to be saying that they still have the preliminary battles, just because this time around there would actually be a couple more members that would actually end up passing the Chunin exams portion of the whole thing, right? And what I'm going to be saying happens here is essentially the battles would go just like you guys would probably be expecting. When it comes to the first battle that Naruto's going to have to face off against, I was actually about to say that it's going to be Kiba, but I don't want to make it Kiba just because at that point I'm just repeating history and this what if it's kind of boring. So instead, I'm actually going to be having Naruto face off against Haku in a fair 1v1 battle. And the way that actually, no, I don't want to do that. I actually would prefer if Naruto actually fought against Gaara, because Naruto wants to prevent Lee from getting his arm and leg broken, and he thinks that Haku would actually be a better matchup, or let's say like Sasuke, or no, not Sasuke. Let's say that anybody else except for him let's say Neji's going to be the one facing off against Lee. And I think that battle would actually be pretty cool. I think it would be really awesome to see how Lee's hard work eventually ended up outcompeting Neji's raw natural talent, and Neji kind of having to come to terms with the fact that Rock Lee is actually stronger than him, even after Neji having had beat him so many times in the past. Now with Lee actually being able to access the third gate and completely shred on the competition, aka Neji. And what I'm overall going to be having happen here is pretty much that what I want to have happen is Naruto would go on to face off against Gaara. Now, how would Naruto do this? Naruto's going to be using his insane speed and pretty much matching alongside the levels of a second gate Lee, with Naruto using his overall crazy speed and his smartness and knowing how Gaara fights to actually evade and counter many of the attacks that Gaara would have used. Naruto this time around smartly would use a couple of water jutsus to actually cause the sand to be a lot harder to control for Gaara, and this would be something that would slow the sand down significantly for Naruto's second gate Lee kind of speed-esque thing to actually be able to keep up with Gaara and defeat him. This is always something that I've thought about, because obviously sand is a lot harder and like heavier when it's wet. So I always thought that, couldn't you technically defeat Gaara by being a water style user? I always thought about it like that. Comment down below if you guys think that's how it works, or if I'm just tweaking right now. But that's how we're going to be assuming that it works for this what if, so that doesn't really matter. But regardless, what pretty much ends up happening here is Naruto and Gaara fight. It starts, Naruto begins bombarding Gaara, and eventually Gaara decides to whip out his ultimate barrier defense. And once this happens, Naruto's like, okay, I don't really have too many moves to actually do something against this. I guess I'm gonna be having to, throw a really powerful punch and add my real strength in the middle of it, right? So what does Naruto do? He picks up a massive amount of smoke into the air and dirt and stuff like that. And while Gaara's inside of the thing, Naruto would throw a mean punch into the thing, and Gaara would pretty much end up getting like hurt pretty badly, to the point where Gaara would go crazy, and like he doesn't get bleed this time around, mind you, but he does actually get punched really, really hard. Like, how would you guys feel if some dude just straight bang, like straight to your face? Like I feel like I'd be getting pretty mad, like regardless of whether the dude made me bleed or not. Like, it hurts. And Naruto has Gaara absolutely hurting right now. And so, the dude is like, yo, I'm not about to let this slide. So Gaara retaliates by pretty much trying to go bizarre and crazy. And once he activates his tailed beast transformation thing, he would not actually try to run away, because this time around there's no such thing as the crush of Konoha arc. And so this is not even a requirement. Gaara actually tries to face off against Naruto. But because there isn't no rule that you can't use your tailed beast's powers, considering Naruto was allowed the QB cloak partial transformation, I'm going to be saying that Gaara is still allowed to continue fighting Naruto. And Naruto is going to be getting outclassed by Gaara ever so slightly at the beginning, until he starts to use his strategic mind to actually make a plan to take out Gaara rather quickly. What would Naruto do? He uses a smoke bomb, which would actually cloud Gaara's view. Naruto creates a clone, and when Gaara would actually end up getting the clone and making it look like he defeated him, aka killed him, the clone would turn into nothing but smoke, and Naruto would pop up being the real him, as he would appear behind Gaara and hit him in a very, very vital spot that would actually knock Gaara out completely, and everybody would be watching in complete awe. Zabuza, Haku, Sasuke, Kakashi, and everybody else who would be watching in tow would be extremely impressed by Naruto's performance, and it would be just a pretty cool Chunin exams battle. Seeing as this time there's going to be no high stake things exactly, I figured that I would at least treat you guys to a decently cool battle. But what happens after this, it's actually going to be just as cool, if not more. But pretty much now we're actually going to be getting access to that of what are we going to be getting access to actually? Haku versus, who should Haku face off against? Sorry guys, let me just like adjust my mic again. I was like kind of like slouching over on my chair, but now I decided to actually fix my posture. But who should Haku face off against? I think that Haku facing off against Zabuza would be kind of a cool thing, just because they're really the only two people who could realistically combat each other. And I think that just seeing Haku actually defeat Zabuza and cement himself as the stronger of the two in front of everybody would be something cool to watch. So I think I'm actually going to be going with Haku versus Zabuza, and I think that Haku would ultimately begin winning, but because Haku just doesn't have it in him to actually fight Zabuza afterwards, he would kind of just let himself lose just to, because like, you know, like Zabuza means the world to Haku, you know what I mean? I picture the battle starting between some taijutsu exchanges and Haku creating an ice sword, which is something that I always just assumed Haku could do, and being able to actually clash against Zabuza using this ice crystal like transformation sword thing, right? And their taijutsu clash eventually leading that to ninjutsu attacks. Zabuza would whip out a water dragon like attack, and Haku would actually end up creating an ice barrier which would stop it. And I think that afterwards we would just get Haku, how do I put this, pretty much beginning to display his Ice Kiki Genkai abilities to that of their uppermost levels, right? To the point where Zabuza would actually get caught off guard more than he would like to admit, and he would begin to be on the back foot. However, once Haku realizes that he's kind of just gonna like do Zabuza dirty, he's like, you know what, like, no, it's not even worth it. Like, he just begins to start acting tired and just let Zabuza win. Zabuza knows what he did, and he would actually thank Haku after the match. And this is a very strong but, I think that he would ultimately tell Haku that he should always fight at his best, and that holding back for the sake of somebody he cares about, or if holding back just because he cares about him, is actually disrespectful. That he knows Haku would have won, and as long as he knows that and Haku didn't exactly try to keep it a secret from him, it's fine, but don't ever do that again, right? And I think Haku would like understand him, and therefore Haku would move on and Zabuza would actually be one to fail. And you know, Zabuza goes up to the stage, and I mean the stands, and would be right next to Kakashi as Kakashi talks to him, and he's like, that student of yours is way too powerful. And you know, Zabuza's like, yeah, Haku has tons of potential, and very soon he'll surpass even you, with Kakashi being like, I think he already has. And from here we would just get a scene between, you know, everybody who passed pretty much being told about the next and real final battles of the Chunin exams, which would then lead to the 1 month time skip. And during this time, Naruto would be so happy. Like, I genuinely can't explain to you guys how happy Naruto's gonna be, because it's been years since Naruto has seen his favorite person ever, Pervy Sage. Like, yeah, bringing Sasuke back was cool and all, and having that 3-year journey with Jiraiya was awesome as well, but being able to just see Jiraiya again after all these years, man, Naruto is just, he's ready. And Naruto's not going to be like saying nothing to Jiraiya. Naruto decides to go to the same hot springs he met Jiraiya at, and you know, have that same interaction go just like it would have in the original. Naruto would still, you know, turn into that, you know, sexy jutsu transformation. Jiraiya still is just completely caught off guard, and Naruto gets to experience the memories that he has with Jiraiya in real time. Naruto gets once again to laugh with his sensei, to tell him about his last couple of years, to explain to Jiraiya how cool it's been to be in the village and have all of these different events that would have actually changed the Naruto timeline be just to such a benefit of the world, right? And I think that it's just generally going to just be an amazing experience for Naruto to be able to have Jiraiya with him again. Honestly, I don't think Naruto's going to be spending too much. Well, he is going to be spending a lot of time training, because that's mainly what he would do with Jiraiya. So scratch that. Naruto is going to be spending a lot of time training, and it's going to be extremely beneficial for Naruto. Like, a lot. By the way, guys, I just noticed that the angle of my microphone was a bit off. So if the last couple of like minute or something was a bit quiet, I apologize for that deeply. But regardless though, what pretty much ends up happening after this is Naruto and Jiraiya had just have a cool time together, and eventually the final exam thing of the Chunin exams would finally end up coming up, right? The final battles. Naruto's first appointment is actually going to be Sasuke, and the person that Lee is actually going to have to face Haku. And I think that's a good battle overall. I think that Lee versus Haku is actually going to be pretty interesting because Lee has that crazy speed and so does Haku. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Lee handles that, right? And getting to see Lee actually open the fourth gate is going to be kind of crazy too. Seeing as he didn't exactly open that in the first battle of the Chunin exams, that only happened later. That's going to happen later because he didn't have to fight against Gaara this time, and he only really needed the third gate against Neji. But, you know, I digress. What ends up happening here is we pretty much get Naruto and Sasuke step into the ring, and both of them kind of just like smirking, thinking to themselves that this is about to be a crazy battle, and them both kind of acknowledging and having respect for one of the other. Now, this time around, Sasuke wouldn't have actually had the need to train alongside Kakashi, but he would learn the Chidori just because he would actually ask Kakashi how it's performed, and he would have actually spent about 4 days trying to learn the basics before going to train with Itachi, Shisui, and doing all of that, you know, normal stuff that Sasuke would find himself doing, right? And what pretty much ends up happening after this is we're going to actually be getting a scene where, do you guys hear that? Like that really loud like compressor noise? I don't know if you guys are actually going to be able to hear it, but I think it's like an airplane flying on top. So, you know, again, if you guys hear that, sorry. But I'm just going to continue on with the recording and act like, you know, it's not there, just to kind of distract myself and not have to re-record this entire part. So, yeah, bear with it, guys, bear with it. But pretty much what's actually going to be happening here is we're going to actually be getting a initial combat scene of Naruto and Sasuke, like kind of like a homage to that of the rooftop fight, where they would start with basic hand-to-hand combat, Naruto whipping out shadow clones, Sasuke using the Sharingan, and both of them rushing in and just hand-to-hand clash, taijutsu with kunais and, you know, fireball jutsus being thrown all over the place, and both of them, you know, kind of showing respect to one another individually, with Naruto thinking that Sasuke is so strong, right? Like, if it wasn't for the fact that Naruto was reliving his life, that Sasuke probably would have immediately beat Naruto. But because Naruto already has all the powers that he would get in his life, that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Naruto would, I'm going to be saying, enjoy the battle, but ultimately I don't want to sit here and lie and act like this is even a high stakes battle, considering we all know what's going to happen. But Naruto can't exactly reveal that quite yet, so it would look like a very, very much so stalemated like battle, very, very much so up until the very ending, where Naruto decides to let Sasuke have his moment to shine and actually defeat Naruto himself, with Naruto letting himself be defeated by Sasuke, and ultimately leading to Sasuke versus, I'm going to be saying, Haku. Now, the only reason that I'm going to be saying Haku is the one who would actually no, because I think that fourth gate Lee is actually way more powerful than one cloak Naruto, so I don't think that even Haku's crystal mirrors jutsus are going to be putting up a candle. But because it is fourth gate Lee versus Sasuke, I'm not really too sure how this fight's really going to be panning out, because on one hand we have the argument of fourth gate Rock Lee isn't really that strong compared to this version of Sasuke, but I think that they're actually going to be bare bone equal this time around, and I'm really not sure what direction to take this battle. You guys take this into consideration. This time around, Sasuke actually has access to 2 Tomoe Sharingan in each eye respectively. He was training with Fugaku and his brother Itachi. They taught him a couple of jutsus. They ended up helping him work on his speed and combat prowess. He has access to that of the Chidori, doesn't have access to the curse mark or anything like that. Rock Lee is perfectly healthy and has a 4 gate, as well as a little bit more of a power amp because he actually had the month to train. So I want to leave it up to you guys to let me know who you guys think is actually going to be taking this battle. And with that being said, both people would actually get straight into the stadium, with the proctor immediately saying, Hajime! Sasuke starts the battle off by immediately taking a kunai out of his pouch, throwing it straight at the direction of Lee, who would simply parry out of the way, as Sasuke would activate his Sharingan simultaneously and go in to try to get a direct blow blow in at Lee's face. He would go in trying to strike him, but Lee, using his expertise taijutsu skills, would immediately dodge out of the way and counterattack, punching Sasuke straight in the face, sending him flying back, as Lee would jump up into the air and try to land a smashing thunderous blow to Sasuke, who would roll out of the way and immediately shoot a fire style jutsu at Lee, who would begin to run towards the sides of the walls and would proceed to essentially try to run like in circles around Sasuke. Sasuke would immediately create a couple of clones which would rush in at Lee, and Lee would immediately dismantle each and every single one of the clones that Sasuke would have sent out. At this point, Lee would realize that there's no point in playing around, and so Lee would decide, I think that it is only fair if I show you my true power, Sasuke. Prepare yourself, as he would pretty much proceed to lunge in at Sasuke and pretty much activate his fourth gate, right? He would activate the fourth gate, and immediately as soon as this happens, Lee would just think to himself internally, he has to end this battle quickly. Sasuke, seeing this happen, would think to himself that he needs to figure out a way to pretty much stay out of Lee's path, because since he doesn't have the curse mark, he isn't exactly capable of keeping up with Lee, but he's only able to kind of dodge and evade his attacks just because of the fact that he has the Sharingan. So he's barely able to read Lee, but Lee's speed is just insane. It's incredible, honestly. So I think that Lee's speed overall would end up pretty much taking the dub against Sasuke. And quick tangent, ladies and gentlemen, I know that in the last part and the ending, I told you guys to pretty much tell me who you guys think would win. And a majority of you guys actually believe that Lee should actually take the dub this time because Sasuke doesn't have the curse mark. Yeah, he has the Chidori and he has all the things that he would have had in the original, as well as a little bit of an amp. But even I still don't believe that Sasuke would be capable of taking out a fourth gate Lee in the Chunin exams. And so we're going to be saying that because of that, Lee's actually going to win. And the way that I see this happening is essentially Sasuke would try to land a Chidori, which wouldn't actually land, and Lee would be able to counterattack, hitting Sasuke with a hidden lotus attack, which Sasuke would have no counter for. And ultimately, Lee would be the one to take the dub of the battle. Sasuke would be in a crater, and once the battle would be called over by the proctor, Lee would extend a hand out to Sasuke as he would pretty much pick him up and, pretty much just be like, I admire your effort, Uchiha Sasuke. As from here, Sasuke like smirks and he smiles and he's like, the next time we meet, it won't be so easy. And Lee says, I am hoping not. As at this moment, Naruto would be watching from the stands with Jiraiya, who just pretty much looks at Naruto and would kind of be wondering to himself, like, what's up with this? Like, he knows Naruto was definitely hiding some strength, because anytime that Naruto gets into a fight or every time that they would spar, it would almost seem as though Naruto was trying too hard to appear weak when he is actually strong. It would almost appear as though Naruto was hiding his true power, and with Jiraiya being able to actually tell that Sasuke was from the future, I think that Jiraiya would actually be able to kind of begin to put one and two together and kind of begin to question Naruto, leading to him actually trying to find out what's Naruto's game, you know what I mean? And I don't think Naruto's actually going to be keeping it a secret from Jiraiya, as well as I think that a bunch of the other people who would have been watching in the stands, such as Fugaku, would have also, with their Sharingan's active, noticed that Naruto doesn't seem to have been trying his hardest, but he's not going to tell Sasuke because he thinks that it was for a reason, right? And so what would pretty much end up happening here is we end up getting a pretty strange montage where we just see Sasuke training harder after the Chunin exams and Naruto pretty much having to have a little conversation with Jiraiya. Jiraiya would actually end up throwing a kunai to a Naruto who would be asleep, and a ninja Naruto who was a kid would not be able to dodge that. So that's why Jiraiya threw it from the side that the kunai was dull, so it wouldn't hurt Naruto but only give him like a little bit of a bump on his head, right? But Naruto would immediately react to it, causing Jiraiya's assumption to be completely correct. This would be a scene very, very similar to that of when Krillin threw a rock at Goku's head, thinking that since he was a Super Saiyan, he was just omnipotent, and Goku got hit in the head, except this time, Naruto actually responds. So when Jiraiya sees this, he would say, I was right. Naruto, how was it that you were able to dodge that? Only somebody with access to Sage Mode would have been able to dodge that with their eyes closed. And a genin the likes of your status should not have been able to dodge it so easily. Naruto from here would just slowly get up as he would say, the jig is up. As he would look towards the direction of Jiraiya and say, you were one smart old man, you know that? As from here, Jiraiya smirks and Naruto says, look, I'm not me. As Jiraiya says, what are you talking about? And Naruto says, I'm Naruto, but I'm not this Naruto. For some strange reason, I was reborn with all my memories and all my powers. And the reason that I hadn't told you yet was because I wanted to, spend some time with you and get the same bond that we would have made in the future. But I guess that now that you know everything, there's really no point. So we might as well start trying to make a new bond. Look, Jiraiya, truth is that a long time ago, me and a bunch of other rookies actually ended up stumbling across a genie lamp. With that genie lamp, all of us were trying to make a wish and we were all being greedy. I ended up being the last one to get a hold of it, and when I did, I wish that I got a do-over with my life. And so, once I ended up dying in the future and had a son and became Hokage, Jiraiya would be like, you actually did it, you knucklehead? As Naruto would say, yes, with a little bit of a laugh on his face, just kind of laughing, thinking to himself that that's good old Jiraiya. And from here, he would proceed to tell Jiraiya that he got to do over with his life and that he actually got to experience a childhood this time, saying that in the future, if everything would have gone according to plan, a lot of things would have been changed, such as he would have had a horrible childhood because Danzo would have let it out of the bag that he was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Everybody would have hated him. The Uchiha clan would have been slaughtered by Itachi and Obito, a ninja from the third great shinobi world who we all thought had passed, the comrade of Kakashi Hatake, and the student of my father Minato. Then in the future, you would have lost your life, so would have Hiruzen, and there would have been a huge war in which Madara came back in. Luckily though, because I'm here, I'm going to be able to avoid all those countless deaths. I'm going to be able to save Neji. I'm going to be able to pretty much put everything right. And this time around, I'm going to stop the catastrophe that destroys the Hidden Leaf Village sometime in the future. I'm going to be the one who actually stops everything, and I'm not going to leave it up to my son this time. And from here, Jiraiya would be like, well, Naruto, that is quite a lot to take in. As from here, he would sit down and look to Naruto and say, so how old did I get to live to? Naruto would say, trust me, Jiraiya, you don't want to know, but just know that your life's work and your life meant something. But this time around, you're going to make it a lot older than that, you old frog, so make sure you don't croak before then. As Jiraiya laughs and says, yeah, well, what was it like? What was I like in my final moments? Naruto would say, I don't know, you ended up fighting one of your previous students. I think his name was Nagato. And from here, Jiraiya says, the one with the Rinnegan? And Naruto says, what other student do you have named Nagato? As Jiraiya just kind of lets it all sit in, and he would be like, wow, like the future does sound like quite a crazy timeline. As Naruto says, it was, and trust me, it wasn't easy to do things without you. I ended up having to perfect the Rasengan and create the Rasen Shuriken, this jutsu here, as he proceeds to effortlessly create a Rasen Shuriken with one hand without the usage of clones. Seeing as he died like a couple more years than he would have in the future, I think that he would have at the very minimum mastered the ability to create a Rasengan and Rasen Shuriken without using two hands. So, he was able to do that, and so we pretty much get Jiraiya being fascinated by this, with Jiraiya thinking to himself how Naruto could have possibly gotten this strong. Jiraiya would wonder, how strong is Naruto? And Naruto would say that for now, seeing as he's in a kid's body, he can't access everything, but this is the extent to his power. Naruto closes his eyes as instantly he says, are you ready, Kurama? And from here, Kurama would proceed to have a smile on his face as he would go on to pretty much activate KCM2, Naruto being able to tap into the 6-path Sage Mode version of it, with Jiraiya being absolutely stunned. Jiraiya would ask himself how in the world Naruto became this strong. And Naruto would say a little bit of training and a little bit of spit and grease. And from here, Naruto has a big smile on his face as Jiraiya says, you're going to need to teach me that jutsu, kid. With Naruto saying, oh, trust, it's going to take you a while. That unless you were to use the Shadow Clone Jutsu. And Jiraiya says, the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu you're talking about, right? That's the way that you're able to look left and right at the same time. Naruto says, exactly. And from here, it kicks in. Jiraiya finally realizes it. And he's like, it's so simple. This whole time I could have been training like that and I would have saved myself years. Heck, I could have even sent a clone to Mount Miyaboku to continue my Sage Mode training. Naruto says that it's not too late, considering that for now there's actually going to be no threats to the world. But there is one loose end that Naruto does want to take care of, something that Jiraiya needs to come along with him for, and that is to retrieve Tsunade and bring her back to the village. While they might not need a new Hokage this time around, it would be nice to have that old lady here for a change. And Jiraiya's like, alright, let's go look for her. Naruto says, I know exactly where she's going to be at. In 2 weeks, she's going to be in the town of yada yada yada, right? Naruto informs Jiraiya of this, and because Orochimaru doesn't need his arms fixed because he never tries to do anything against the Hidden Leaf Village, I'm going to be saying that Orochimaru kind of just stays in the shadows, and we're going to be saving Orochimaru as a villain for later. Keep in mind that because the Uchiha clan is a plethora of Uchiha clan bodies, Orochimaru definitely gets his wish. This time around, there's no stopping him. He encounters an Uchiha along on a mission, some random one, the son of like a cousin of Sasuke or something, and he's gonna actually be taking the body of that kid. And when it comes to Kimimaro still dies, but this time around not in the same fashion as the Sasuke, retrieval mission thing, right? He just dies on his deathbed a couple weeks later. And so what pretty much ends up happening from here is we would essentially get a really cool moment where Jiraiya and Naruto are kind of walking, and Naruto just says, look, I'm kind of tired of this old little kid body. Any chance I can snap into what I'll look like in the future? And Jiraiya says, go for it, kid. As from here, Naruto uses the transformation jutsu to turn himself the equal age as Jiraiya, as both of them have a conversation about life and about a bunch of different things that Jiraiya would honestly be pretty cool with. Like, he gets to talk to somebody around his age, Naruto seems way wise, and it's just a really cool, like, humbling like experience that Jiraiya didn't think he would ever get the chance to have. And so we have a really, really cool moment where they kind of just talk to each other, right? Until eventually they end up encountering Tsunade at the bar, and at the bar, Tsunade would still have her little fussle over returning to the village, but Jiraiya never blatantly asks her to pretty much become Kage. So I think that would help the case out, but he would say that it would be nice to have somebody like her back in the village in order to teach other people about the implementation of a healing ninja in squats. Tsunade would say that that's not her problem and that she doesn't want to go back, and that as long as that old fart's there and with the new Hokage Fugaku, there's no reason that she should even go back. I'm not sure if I ended up saying like something that I had on my mind, but I'm not sure if I ended up saying this, but Fugaku ends up becoming Hokage just because Hiruzen, he realizes he's too old for the job, and so Naruto would actually end up being okay with Fugaku becoming Kage. This would prevent a bunch of things, and I think that Fugaku as Kage would actually be pretty interesting, seeing the village elders kind of opposed to this, but Hiruzen being like, no, like, I'm putting my foot down, he's gonna be the new Kage, right? Would be a cool thing for the village. And also seeing Naruto tell the father of Sasuke what his true power is, I think that's also gonna be a really, really cool moment where, we're definitely gonna have to cover in the future. But regardless though, Tsunade would fight and make a fuss about it, and Naruto would say, heard a lot of things about you, things like you're the legendary loser and things of that nature, but I never did want to believe it. So how about this? How about a little bet? I know that you're much of a betting woman, so how about this? If we go outside and I can land and I can beat you in a fight, you have to come back to the village. Tsunade scoffs at this and she says, kid, if you land even one blow on me, I'll return to the village. And Naruto just smirks, knowing exactly what she was gonna respond to that. The reason that he didn't say one blow was because he knows Tsunade, and if he would have said that, Tsunade would have started laughing and just like been cautious, because it's like, no way he's that confident. But because Naruto says, I beat you in a fight, she gets overconfident and says that this kid is out of his element, right? And so what pretty much ends up happening is that we get a really, really strange scene between everybody where they're all just wondering what they're going to be doing, you know what I mean? And what pretty much ends up happening is they go outside with Jiraiya just being completely confident, and Tsunade is just outside, she just punches the ground, and Naruto, he's like, all right, let's try this move, as he throws a kunai at the direction of Tsunade, and Tsunade would be like, really, kid? She steps out of the way as Naruto smirks, and flash, Naruto's right beside Tsunade as he activates a Rasengan and just boom, straight to the rib cage of Tsunade, sending her crashing into a wall, knocking her clean out as she was drunk and just was not expecting it. Once Tsunade wakes up, she would be enraged, being like, what? That kid tricked me. Like, how was I supposed to know that he was the son of the 4th Hokage Minato, much less has the same jutsu as him? And Naruto would just be laughing. As they make their way back to the village without any quorums, and once they return, Naruto is faced with the issue that he has to finally tell Fugaku the truth about everything. He has to tell Fugaku, yeah, so I'm actually from the future. And Fugaku would be like, yeah, I figured there was something up with you, but from the future, I never would have predicted that much. Naruto explains to him the truth of his power, how he had met a genie and gets a do-over with his life, and with Fugaku knowing about the organization of the Akatsuki, Naruto begins to tell Fugaku that it's about time that they were to put them on the hit list, saying that in 3 years' time, once Naruto gets an older body that can handle the power that Naruto possesses, it would be a good idea to go encounter the Akatsukis and maybe try to get them to change their minds about their goals. Naruto says that if anything, he's gonna save Obito Uchiha, and Fugaku, being the leader of the Uchihas, would say, Obito, he lost his life in the Third Great Shinobi World War. His eyes have been inherited by that of Kakashi, as Naruto stops him and says, he's alive alright. And that ability of his of the Mangekyo Sharingan is fearsome indeed. It's something that you're going to be needing my help for. I know how powerful you are, but trust me, I think that having a couple of extra hands for this mission is something that we shouldn't take lightly. And from here, Fugaku would be like, alright kid, well I trust you seeing as you're from the future. As Naruto would pretty much end up waiting these 3 years training alongside Sasuke, as he would end up teaching Sasuke techniques that he would have ended up learning in the future, but earlier via telling Fugaku to teach him, via talking to Itachi and, messing around with Shisui. Naruto having all of these extra people in his life would actually make a huge difference, and Naruto around this time, by the time that the 3 years were up, Naruto would have already been done having his fun with Ino, right? He was like, you know what, Ino's cool and all, but she's kind of boring, because at the same time as Ino looks good, she's a boring individual. So Naruto doesn't really care about her too much. And so Naruto's like, who's the next person that I should, maybe try my luck at? As Naruto begins thinking, and he's like, you know what, should I just go back to Hinata? Until he just thinks to himself, one more person that he definitely wants to, see what would happen. And that person is, oh my God, what's the name of Yugito, that girl right there from the Hidden Cloud Village, the Jinchuriki of the Two Tails, I think it is. But that's for a later mission that Naruto's gonna have to definitely embark with the Hidden Cloud. That said, what pretty much ends up happening here is we get a situation in which, actually pause, everything stop. Okay, look, hear me out, guys. Okay, this could be the last part, or hear me out, you guys smash a like goal of 1,000 likes. If you guys smash 1,000 likes, I can make a bonus part in the movie version of this that will be right at the end, covering the events of Boruto, with Naruto absolutely smacking around people like Ishiki, Kaguya, and Naruto actually, realizing his mistakes that he would have made in the future with Boruto. Like, I could go into it in depth and make like a 25-minute part to that I could just add at the bonus at the end of the last part, and maybe cover what would end up happening after this part. Any loose ends that you guys might have, any questions and stuff like that for this what if in particular. Let me know down below if you guys want that, and if you guys smash 1,000 likes, I'll make sure to drop that when the movie of this comes out. That said, getting back into the story, with the squad of Kakashi, Naruto, Jiraiya, Itachi, Shisui, and Tsunade to heal them and stuff like that, there would be absolutely no way that Naruto's not going to be able to take out Obito. They would end up encountering the Akatsukis, and each member would be tasked with the ultimate defeat of the defeation of all of the Akatsuki members that are left. And all of the Akatsuki members that would be left would be people like Deidara, people like Sasori, and people like that would actually be easily taken out by Itachi and Shisui. That's a matchup that would be very, very much so pretty interesting to watch, because Itachi could just use his Mangekyo abilities against Deidara to take him out. We've seen how that plays out. Sasori, we can definitely use Shisui's speed to just blitz him and ultimately take that dub. And when it comes to Fugaku, I think that an interesting matchup for him would probably be Kisame, but with him having Wicked Eye Fugaku's Mangekyo, I think that he would ultimately take the dub in that. And when it comes to the last like higher tier members like Nagato and Obito, Naruto would want to have a change of heart with them. Like he talks to Obito and tries to talk no jutsu him much earlier than he would have in canon, telling him that it's not worth dying or trying to bring Madara back for the Eye of the Moon plan, telling him Rin's gone and she's never coming back, and that the sooner he accepts it, the sooner that everything will be fine. But because things don't play out the way that they do in the future, I think Obito would definitely try to fight back against it. And I think that Naruto ends up having to take out Obito, and by take out, I don't mean kill him, but like just knock him out, kind of use a deterrent against him. When it comes to Nagato, I think that the Tuck no Jutsu would still work, and Naruto would say that it's better for him to come back and, be part of their piece than to force it onto others, saying that in due time people will learn that there's no reason to fight, and that Nagato trying to push people into peace and trying to rule them with an iron fist is not the way. That if he wouldn't like to be treated like that, will make him think that others will, and that soon somebody will rise up whether he likes it or not. That's just how that kind of world works. Naruto would say not to think too deep about it, and so he ends up taking Nagato back. They have a little bit of a cool reunion with Jiraiya, and ultimately this would be the end of what if Naruto was reborn with all of his memories and powers for now. Because keep in mind, if you guys smash 1,000 likes, I'll definitely be sure to drop a bonus part and cover any loose ends that I'm leaving on this story. Definitely make sure to comment down some questions you guys have, some fights you guys would like to see, and ultimately some funny moments you guys think would make sense to have in the bonus part for this what if you guys smash 1,000 likes. That said though, ladies and gentlemen, it has been your boy Xehther, and I love each and every single one of you guys, but for now, I'm out. Peace. You absolute chads ended up destroying, and I mean demolishing, the like button when I told you guys that you guys could get a bonus part to this awesome series. And from the comments that I read, it looks like a lot of you guys actually love this series and want to see what would happen into the Boruto-like storyline. What would happen when Naruto finally turns into a teenager, and how the story would end up ramping out. Would Naruto still have Boruto and Himawari? What happens with Itachi and Obito? Whatever happens to the Uchiha clan? Does Shisui become prominent? Does Fugaku remain Kage? Where does Tsunade go? What happens to Jiraiya? What happens to... Yeah, there's just so many unanswered questions that I left, and I just knew you absolute chads were going to smash the like button. So here it is, the bonus part to what if Naruto was reborn with all of his powers and memories. Let's go. All right, so the first thing that I firstly want to cover is what's Tsunade going to be doing? Now, I think that Naruto being a part of the future would actually want to take one thing put one thing into perspective. And that is the fact that they should actually implement a system that Tsunade would have actually wanted to implement during the Third Great Shinobi World War, which is to have medical ninjas actually be a massive part of, being a Chunin squad, you know what I mean? Being a Genin squad. And so I think that Tsunade is going to be teaching like an extra course at the Genin Academy about medical ninjutsu. And she's also going to be teaching an extra advanced course for everybody else who wants to do that. And in exchange, Konoha actually is going to be paying back Tsunade's debts for her. And I think that would be more than enough consolation for Tsunade to be like, you know what, fine, I'll do it. Not to mention that she would even be given pocket money and a free housing, via Naruto and Fugaku, who both would have decided that this would be good for the village. During this time, Naruto would have ended up actually putting in his own, implementing his own kind of newish system to the Genin Academy thing, where pretty much the students are actually going to be coming out a lot stronger, because instead of wasting their time reading as much book, they're actually going to be learning about tree walking and water walking and chakra manipulations and chakra natures, and they're going to be getting more into depth with everything that they're going to be learning in the academy. And this is just going to create much more powerful shinobis down the line. One more thing that I would definitely love to have answers to is what happens with Jiraiya. Well, when it comes to Jiraiya, what happens with him is essentially just that he proceeds to live out a more fulfilling life. Around this time, he probably would have died, but because 4 years have passed ever since the 4th Great Shinobi World War was prevented, Jiraiya has just been continuing his legacy via writing his books. Jiraiya has been hanging out with Naruto, and Jiraiya has decided that he might as well train another Genin squad. He would have actually been in charge of continuing hanging out with Naruto and teaching him a couple of things that he never got to show him in the future because he ends up passing, right? And not to mention, Jiraiya would have rekindled an old bond with both students, that being Nagato and Konan. Nagato would have actually been healed via Tsunade, as well as Itachi, who still would have ended up getting the Uchiha, the eye sickness that Itachi is affected with, and he would be healed, which is a good thing. Not to mention, Itachi would go on to live a very fulfilling life, where instead of becoming Kage because his father's already in that role, Itachi would decide that while he wants to become one as well, there must be pieces in the puzzle that help the clock work. And Itachi just decides that he's going to be that. He would end up being the leader of the Anbu for a police force and stuff like that, and the leader of the brand new Anbu alongside Shisui, who would be his right-hand man, because sometime down the line, Itachi would have ended up surpassing Shisui, thus becoming the stronger of the two. When it comes to Itachi's wife, he would have actually ended up getting with that girl that we see him use a genjutsu on and show her what their life would have been like. And he gives her that life. Following after, he ends up having a kid with her. And when it comes to Shisui, the dude is more or less going to be along the lines of a little bit of a bachelorette, where he just wants to live his life and see what happens. Shisui's not too interested in sitting down and, settling down with some individual, right? So Shisui's still out there on the market. When it comes to Fugaku, he would have continued his Hokage duties, and his wife would have ended up continuing to have another kid. That other kid would be born, and Sasuke and Itachi would love this kid to death. And when it comes to Itachi and his Sasuke's relationship, it would have actually flourished. Sasuke would have become a very, very much so capable and competent shinobi. And at this point, Naruto would have finally felt more than comfortable enough to tell Sasuke the truth, that he's actually from the future, and that Sasuke needs to get more powerful, that they need this power because someday soon, beings unlike anything they've ever met before will come. And trust me, if Sasuke's not ready, then a lot of lives will be lost the day that the Otsutsuki return. And so Sasuke's like, I understand, and Naruto and Sasuke train, and they end up creating this strange bond that isn't quite the same one that they have in the original, but it's a little different because Sasuke respects Naruto more, knowing that Naruto is actually kind of Sasuke's sensei in a sense, as well as his best friend. Think about it in like a big brother way, where like your big brother is your big brother, and not that I have one, but I'm kind of just going off of like what I think it would be like, right? Like your big brother teaches you things, and he gives you those extra tips and tricks to pretty much just do good in life, you know what I mean? And that's essentially what Naruto is doing to Sasuke. So Sasuke has a lot more respect for Naruto in this version. And when it comes to other characters such as Hiruzen, who never would have passed, the dude, he just chills out in retirement. I mean, he's just having a grand old time. And when it comes to Obito would actually be on a mission to rebuke all of his old sins. And Obito would have actually ended up creating a new organization under the same alias as the Akatsuki, which would actually be an alliance for good. This time around, Obito swears that he will never, unnecessarily kill somebody, and that he's going to try to right his wrongs. So Obito becomes the person who ends up going off on some self-discovery journey instead of Sasuke, and he ends up pretty much solving the issues that Sasuke would have solved in the Sasuke light novels, right? And that's pretty much what Obito ends up having to do. And when it comes to the rest of the Uchiha clan, they would just become powerhouses. The Hyuga clan would flourish, that because they have the rivalry of the Uchihas, so more Hyugas would become powerful, Neji's life would be saved, and Hinata would continue looking at Naruto in a I love you light, you know what I mean? And Naruto during this whole time would have definitely had a couple of adventures with some other kunoichi that, they was effing with the kid, if you get what I'm saying. And Naruto just had a little bit of fun before he finally decided, you know what, Hinata, it's about time me and you get together again. And, he talks to her and he begins flirting her up. And, he pretty much would end up saying that he loves her. And Hinata would say, Naruto-kun, like, I love you too, right? And I think that from this would spawn a new relationship between Naruto and Hinata, where Naruto just is just so much of a better like individual when it comes to relationship with Hinata, because he remembers all of his previous mistakes. I don't know if my fan base per se is old enough to have had experiences such as like having an actual real girlfriend that isn't just like some little kid stuff, like some high school fling or like middle school relationships that only last 3 months, but something real where you end up actually making huge mistakes and you just wish you could take it back, but you can't because it's already done. Naruto this time around gets to take back all of the dumb mistakes he would end up making in the future, and now he's pretty much just training for the inevitable return of the Otsutsuki, which he knows will happen very soon. That with Toneri trying to kidnap Hinata pretty soon, Naruto just continues to train, and with his body getting older and older, this will just make Naruto more and more powerful. Naruto would decide that he actually wants to take part in that jutsu that Tsunade uses, the transformation jutsu, and learn how to keep it constant. Naruto would decide that he actually wants to implement the little Byakuya seal on his forehead. And the reason that Naruto does this is because he's going to take every edge he can get. When it comes to anything else, Naruto would actually end up, building a bigger bond than he would have even had in the original with Kurama. And he would actually free Kurama to the point where Kurama is kind of like a protector of the village, and would kind of create like this summoning contract with Naruto where Kurama is free to live his own life in the Foxland, and Naruto calls him and, fuses with Kurama in order to attain abilities such as KCM and stuff like that, right? And when it comes to, what happens to the yin half of Kurama, that's the one that Naruto would actually end up taking into himself. So Naruto could at will gain access to the full blunt of Kurama's powers. And when it comes to, everything else that he would have ended up gaining access to, such as the other tailed beast powers, Naruto still has that, because keep in mind, powers means that as well. Naruto would visit Mount Miyaboku and have a conversation with the toads and all that stuff, and it would just be a good old grandiose time between everybody. As eventually time would pass, and it would get to around the point where Hinata would eventually, quote unquote, or no, Himawari and Hinata would both try to be kidnapped by Toneri, right? However, Naruto this time around knew exactly what to expect. He saw the signs, and so when Toneri would end up arriving without the abilities of the Tenseigan, Naruto would immediately burst in there with KCM2 flaring, Sage Mode activated, Byakuya seal going crazy. Naruto pulls up and would proceed to essentially punch Toneri straight off the planet. Like if you guys saw the scene where Naruto cracked the moon with punches, Naruto did he pretty much could have ripped Toneri in half with a single punch if he truly wanted to. But he doesn't. And Naruto just punches Toneri as hard as he can. Toneri goes flying off of the earth. And, we just don't see Toneri again. The dude's dead in space now because he can't survive out there for that long, right? And eventually, Naruto would end up having Boruto and Himawari. Now, when it comes to Boruto and Himawari, once they're born, Naruto would still be the great father that he was, before he becomes Kage. But once Naruto gets to the point where originally he's supposed to become Kage, Naruto decides that maybe being Kage isn't all it's cut out to be, because he already got to do that. And trust me when I say, as much as Naruto loved the role of being Hokage, there were some nights where he wished that he didn't have to do that job. But you know what? Naruto would take solace in the fact that, becoming Kage was always his dream, and to get to do that again would be just an experience of a lifetime. Plus, he wants to experience the Hokage ceremony that he never got to have in the original, courtesy of Himawari. He would end up becoming Kage a couple years earlier than he would have in the original, 2 years to be exact. And Naruto would get straight down to business. I mean, Naruto would start helping lands and saving more lives than ever because of the fact that Naruto knows the future and he knows about certain events that would attack other villages, to the point where he would help other nations out so much that like other nations would truly begin to respect and admire that of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto would create a peace treaty between the Cloud and the Leaf Village that would like pretty much last for years and years to come. And Naruto would build a great relationship with the Mizukage Mei, which Naruto may or may have not, gotten to know a little bit during the time that he wasn't with Hinata, if you know what I'm saying. But after this happens, we would pretty much end up having a scene where Naruto is just chilling, right? Naruto's just chilling. And we end up seeing one of the first Otsutsukis that actually ended up showing up. The ones that we would get in the movie, right? Like after Naruto becomes Kage and yada, yada, yada. Like we're around that point in the story. So that particular Otsutsuki would end up arriving, right? And he would pretty much begin to try to cause chaos by shooting down a gigantic attack of chakra. But Naruto, having the abilities that he would in the future, would use a jutsu which can absorb other jutsus, and he would suck it straight into himself, making that chakra a part of himself. So that now he has access to even more crazy powers and abilities, and Naruto was just looking more and more broken by the second. Trust me, guys. Naruto was about to go off. But, pretty much what ends up happening after this is Naruto would look up as, he looks at Sasuke, who's right beside him, and nods. And Sasuke would proceed to throw his sword up to the sky as, he teleports in, and with that same sword would stab into the hand of Momoshiki. As Momoshiki's hand that could absorb chakra-based jutsus would be destroyed, and Naruto would jump up into the air as, a Kurama-like avatar would form, and a celestial-like just beam of energy would shoot straight at Toneri, which would eviscerate him entirely. He would never even get the chance to give Boruto the abilities of that of the Karma Seal, and now Boruto doesn't have to deal with any of that stuff. Now, Naruto simply has to go locate the base in which Ishiki's at currently and take out the organization known as... What are they even known as? I forgot, but we all know like that, like the evil villains of Boruto, right? He has to take those guys out. Naruto, instead of letting Ishiki pull up to his crib and embarrass him in front of his wife, daughter, and son, would proceed to do the exact thing to Ishiki. And Naruto doesn't pull up with Sasuke next to him or anything like that. Naruto quite literally just walks in there, and Ishiki looks at him and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And Naruto just looks at him and says, "I'm here for some revenge." As following this, Naruto kicks the table that Ishiki would be drinking his wine on, and from here would proceed to transform as he proceeds to mollywop Ishiki. The rest of the other group would try to immediately get in the way and help him out any way that they can, but Naruto jumps up into the air and like split kicks them, sending them to flying as he creates 10 clones which would each go after each and every individual member of this organization and would begin to beat the living life out of every single one of these members so badly that they would get like PTSD like attacks once they're getting hit. Like it would be crazy the way that Naruto was beating them with just purely taijutsu. Like who does that? Like my boy Naruto straight pulled up and started to absolutely play whack-a-mole with these characters. Like it's broken. And once Naruto would get Ishiki weakened, he'd be like, "All right, that's it. I'm taking you out now so you don't become a threat later." He just gets rid of him. The dude, like Naruto, just gets down to business, and from here he proceeds to essentially save the character who the one who he adopts. I forgot his name because I really don't pay attention to Boruto like that, but he saves him, and now Naruto is free to just return to the village, having pretty much saved the entire world from all the threats that would happen in the future. I wish I could tell you guys that there would be more threats or something like that, but seeing as we have yet to find out the conclusion of the Boruto story and he just defeated Ishiki, I think that the main threat would have pretty much been taken care of, and if the Boruto story continues, maybe there will be something else, but as of now I don't know, so I can't cover that. And so I think that this would be a good spot to leave off on a good note and say that the world just pretty much ends in peace. Now, when it comes to Orochimaru, someone that Naruto knows is not exactly a good individual, I think that Itachi would be more than enough to actually go handle Orochimaru. A combo of Itachi and Shisui pulling up to Orochimaru's base, who would actually be in a Sharingan-like body, where he would try to use the Mangekyo abilities to best Itachi and Shisui, but Itachi and Shisui would body him in a Goku Black-esque fashion, where they're like, you don't know how to use that body because it doesn't belong to you. Like, those Sharingan, they're not meant for someone like you. And you know, they just use their Sharingan, get him in a Genjutsu as Shisui uses his Kodo Matsukami, and he just absolutely melts on like Orochimaru. Following this, they end up saving Karin and Suigetsu and stuff like that, and even Jugo, and they bring them back to the Hidden Leaf Village, where the Leaf Village could just get more and more powerful as the years go by. Literally, the Hidden Leaf Village would become the most powerful nation in the entire world ever, and Naruto would just prosper as a Kage. He would make so many good things happen that overpopulation would begin to become a thing. And Naruto would have to, in fact, because of how many lives he saved, have to implement a little bit of a limit so that resources don't run out and Thanos doesn't pull up on them, you know what I'm saying? But overall, peace is finally achieved. And via Orochimaru's immortality, like stuff that he would have been working on, we could have some of the doctors in Naruto end up working on a solution to actually stop death. And that would be that. Like, literally, death would be stopped in the Naruto universe. The last thing that would tie the knot would just be Naruto going over to the little genie lamp and just like rubbing it one more time. The genie comes out and Naruto says, "I wish that you would all like the video." The end.